Hello and welcome back to ThoughtBot's AI in Focus, the show where we explore the gritty details behind AI development today, where we implement new features in our applications that both use AI and use new tools and techniques in our development practices, which is what we're going to be doing today, because today I'm joined by Louis Antonopoulos. Welcome back to the show, Louis.
Thanks, Chad. Happy to be back.
I almost called you Bouis because that is what you are called in Slack right now, because you always change your name for Halloween.
We got October, November, December. November, I'm Louis Kornikopoulos, and then I'm Louis Santonopoulos for December. So it's a happy 3 months for me.
And a happy 3 months for all of us as we get to watch your many changing Slack usernames. So today you were the developer on a sprint that we explored the results of last time for a product called Teledraft. It's a 2-week sprint that we did where we built a prototype of a new product with our client Teledraft. And last time we did the design, more on the design side of things, where we just got started with the prototype and where we were generating HTML and CSS for the designs and building them out using Claude based on the knowledge base that we had built about what the product was, how it would work, what the critical path was during the sprint itself. And so you're joining the show today to talk about the other side of things, and that is what it looked like from the development side of things to build the sprint, to build the prototype from the sprint. So you've done a few of these now, and so I think, speaking in general, but also why don't you show us a little bit about where we are now with Teledraft?
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of the summary, when we started off on the sprint, the key interaction point of Teledraft and where the name comes from is that if you can tell your draft to an interviewer, then you can write your book. Mm-hmm. And so Heather Hayes, who's the founder of Teledraft, her signature manuscript method, it has many, many different steps, but in them, she interviews people and she has a series of questions guiding them through. And at the end, the author recognizes, like, wait, I don't have writer's block. I just like I talked out my whole book. I told my draft. So when we started the sprint, the key thing we needed to validate was whether we could interact with an interviewer, like an AI interviewer, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and whether then the author's response could be captured. So where we started was here, and
I'm
this
gonna.
was
Here we go.
cool. So we started here where we're using 11 labs, and the idea was that you could to see like could we type something any particular question, like I don't know, we'll just do hi, my name is Lewis. Here we'll do Louise, and we can choose like a variety of voices. We can choose a variety of their engines, and so
Hi, my name is Louise.
and
And
so
so this is a page that's using 11 Labs. It's running in a Rails app that you spun up, right?
exactly.
And did you generate this functionality using Claude Code
Yes,
assisted?
from the very beginning, started with Claude Code, started with I ran Rails new,
Mhm.
and then we have like if we use the Claude resume function, like there are so many sessions, there are like even tons more, um, and so right. So from the beginning, we wanted to verify like could we integrate with the 11 Labs API, and then once we're like, yep, okay, this works. This part wasn't as much of a question,
Yeah.
but we did want to audition the different models, and for Heather to choose one that she felt like best represented her brand. And then we also then had to do speech to text testing. So because the user, when they speak, we'll just do a little recording. So when the user talks, we want to make sure that we can capture what they said. And so that went out to Whisper AI. So at this point, we had validated that we can do two things. We can
Mhm.
throw any talent at the 11 Labs voice model, and we can capture the user's response. So like, awesome, we've got the key part of the teledraft experience. And so then at that point, it's like, well, why don't we just keep going? Like we have 2 weeks here. We're able to validate this, I think, pretty early on in the first even couple of days that this was working. So we're like, let's just try and build out the whole thing in Rails, the complete experience. And so I'll come to the dashboard here, and just to cover a little bit of each one of each part of the functionality. So the user has discovery sessions, and these are all part of that signature manuscript method where we'll go in here and then we'll start the interview. And so the what happens for the prompts is the manuscript method has certain specific prompts, but
Mhm.
we send those to ChatGPT to modify them with the context of what the user has already answered. So when you go in, we start the interview, we get asked a question. It's building up the questions right now.
Hi there. I'm really excited to dive into this part of our conversation with you. Could you share what you feel is your unique, standout story that you'd like to tell in your book?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about how I use AI assisted development to assist in coding. And then we continue the interview so that the next question is going to be based off of this response and the responses.
That's fascinating. What experiences in your life led you to want to write a book about using AI assisted development in coding?
And so, as you can see, we've taken the base question, which is what
Mhm.
experiences in your life led you to want to write this book, but now it's been modified. So we've captured that back and forth experience, and this is again the key part of participating in Teledraft. So, as a user, you'll go through all these questions, and then there are a couple other features. So you have to choose a goal for your book, and there are certain set ones that you choose from. You choose the intention of your book, which has certain I guess intentions behind it, and like different than the structures. So like the story that changed me is going to have a certain structure, and the
Mhm.
how-to book is going to have a different structure. And so once you've got those in, um, So you do your goal, your intention, and then a particular structure, which is the listicle or a framework or a transformation journey. Once you have all those, then we get to you generate an outline based on that, and that comes straight from the method. And then we take all of that and send it to a deeper thinking model with ChatGPT to generate the first draft of your book. Mm-hmm. And the key difference here is that AI is not writing the book. It is taking the user's responses that we captured through those audio interviews and stitching them together. Now, admittedly, that part doesn't work yet. Like, it generates something, but it's like leaving the outline in there. That's okay. That's like something we're going to keep working on. But functionally, we got through all these pieces in a little over 2 weeks. Fully functioning. Like you mentioned, this is a Rails app. It is, we have test coverage, both integration and some system tests. It's well linted. It's deployed. It's integrated with, I think, 3 different APIs. So we did this in 2 weeks. And I was really, really happy that we could get this out so that Heather could then take this and start sharing with others and get feedback on a working application.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things before we move on. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work on some improvements to this. We're going to go through the workflow and continue to work on it. But taking a step back, I do, one of the things we've seen time and time again, both in our work on the stream and in our work in real life, when you're doing a lot of functionality like this, if you try to do too much at once, it can really get away from you. So I assume you didn't just say generate this whole application in one go with all the specs and everything.
No. We started from very simple. And even early on, I was like, let's work on one thing at a time. Because one of the things in talking with other developers, they use the plan mode of Claude where it says, here's what I'm going to do. I didn't. I liked the live method, but we'll see this as we start developing. Like, I'll be running Claude. I'm also running over here. This is using Hotwire Spark. So as it makes changes to a page, it's live updating without me doing anything. So I'm both seeing the code on the left. I'm seeing any impacts on the right, if it's a kind of thing where I want to see the impacts. And then I'm, before we continue with the next prompt, I've got Tower up here, which is what I use for managing version. It's a nice way to see the diffs. And like, if we look at I wish I could show all the commits for this, but basically I'm policing every commit. Like, I am looking at it.
Yeah.
I am making sure that it's good. I'm going back to it. Sometimes it's interesting because I'm like, I could probably fix that myself, but I find it's best to give it the context. So if it did the wrong thing, to say hey, that looks like some dead code there. Why don't you take it out? We don't need an if here. We know that this is the case when we're here. And it'll be sure. I did tell it to create tests, but again, I went through each test and verified that, sometimes it's like creating a test that isn't testing anything. I'm like, that's not testing it. You mock something, you're testing the mock. You didn't actually test the thing on the page we want to do. So there was a lot of hand-holding, but it still makes for incredibly efficient writing, especially when it can mirror the structure. So these 3 features, the goal, the intention, and the structure, very similar. And so once we had one working, it was easy to say then, okay, what we just did for the goal, do for the book intention. And it was amazing, how close it was at that point, hours and hours. But again, all in the end, well-written code.
Mm-hmm. I've found that you can even do that. Even if you don't go into full agent mode for that first one, if you just more write it yourself or work, with fancy autocomplete, then you've built the example. Because I think one of the things we've faced is the quality of the code doesn't match sort of our high standards.
For sure.
But that's one technique, is to actually write something first and then say, now do it again. And it'll use your example. So it's much more likely to write code that I'd be happy with because I wrote the initial version.
That makes sense. And that actually applies to the testing as well. there was a pattern that I've learned from other projects where like the controller tests are grouped by the action that they're taking. So like all the index tests are together and like in their own class. All the all the all the show tests are together, etc. And so to tell it, hey, follow that pattern. Here's the file. Look at it and follow it. Has been really helpful. And also, let's see. So let me bring this back up, because this is something I recommend doing. As you saw from when I did the resume, like it runs out of context at least once a day.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you think it still knows everything, but it kind of doesn't necessarily, because it's compacted it, it's compressed it. So what I like to do at the beginning after a post compact is to tell it, hey, reread ClaudeMD and scan the code base so you have a clean vision. And this is a great thing to do at the beginning of a project, to help you, like, especially if it's something new to you, if you've never worked on it, to understand like what are all the pieces. But it's also good for it to understand how we do things. And so like we can see that, okay, it knows it's a Rails app using, Postgres and Devise. We're using LangChain and Ruby OpenAI for integration. We're using 11 Labs for speech. It talks about the user flow here. We have our domain models. We have our service layer. How we should write tests, our coding style. I think that really also helps it be more effective. With that also in mind, I wanted to share, we won't go through it in detail. This is our ClaudeMD. Kevin, at first, so Kevin went through and added like everything about the product.
Yeah.
So this first part is giving you the context about sort of like,
and this is what we showed. So if you haven't watched last stream where we had Kevin on, this we started with this as well, but non-coding things in it.
Yeah, so I feel like this is helpful for it to understand the flavor of what you're building. And then though, once we get to the code, like telling it like, hey, you don't use emojis. Your first preference is to push back, or at least have a back and forth. Some of these things are not as successful as I want them to be. Like it will fix something but leave little remnants. And even though I've like asked it to like go back and try to remove them, that's more on me than on it. But I feel it's still helpful to do that. But like here we have.
I'm curious, on line 87, does that instruction actually work?
No, it doesn't. It's like my pet peeve and the biggest frustration. It keeps saying it. Although it led to a really interesting discovery when I was like, I think I asked it like, okay, what did you just do? And it was like, oh, you're right, I did the wrong thing. I was like, nope, that wasn't it. What are your instructions? And sometimes it said like, oh, I'm not supposed to say you're absolutely right. I'll fix that. It maybe remembers that. I think it's just ingrained in its underlying coding.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
But once it told me like really deep, like I think what are the background instructions that it has on how to code, like nothing from this ClaudeMD. So that was really interesting. But otherwise, these other like the code style and conventions, like that works really well. It's like it stopped adding authentication to every controller because I've told it, application controller, has the responsibility for that. It uses the Ruby shorthand syntax. And then like, here's our whole section of like how I want to write tests. And so I think having a well thought out ClaudeMD file can really help the process. And it's something that you sort of learn as you go. And I recommend committing it to the code base so that the next person has it. So that then when they're working on it, you've already got this built up library of instructions.
And it's worth noting that Thoughtbot, we have a guides repo where we have like our style guides and that kind of thing. And we currently have a pull request open where we're working on coming up with a ClaudeMD file that sort of has our base level of like, here's the Thoughtbot guide for stuff. And it's really interesting because like, I think rightly so, the question was asked, how do we know that these things actually, like, did someone just write a bunch of stuff that they think will be helpful, or did we actually test it? And there wasn't a 100% good answer for that. So we're going through a testing process right now.
For sure. Do you want to jump into some feature development?
That would be great.
Okay. So let's start off with, so I'm on a branch here where I've called it position destructive actions correctly. And I think this just would be like an easy, quick win. So let's say if we go into our book goal and we choose one of them. Now we have our change on the left and our delete on the right. And that's like in opposition to, hey, this is like going backwards. This is like a reversion. This is a going forward. Same thing for when we change it, right? Like you've got cancel on our left, update on the right. But for a variety of the pages, on these like interstitial pages, the change is left, the delete is right. So we've got it on the book goal. We've got the same thing on the book intention here. And we've got the same thing on the book structure here. So let's fix that. Again, pulling up Tower, we have nothing changed in our working copy. We are right off main with, like I said earlier, passing tests, passing linting. So let's go. So I'm just going to type it out. So on the book, intention, goal, and structure, interstitial pages. The destructive button should be on the left. And let's just see what it does. I think each time you go in, you have to say like allow edits. So I think I can shift tab to default that on. Cool. So we see here, it's looking through our ERB files.
And this is a change where we're not expecting any specs to change.
Correct.
For this.
Correct. So right, like there's no test for this, and it's also not something I would necessarily test.
Right.
We see here, it's seen, I can see the button layout and the primary action button, change goal and texture structures on the left, and the destructive action delete is on the right. Let me swap these. So cool, it's seeing it. And now I can see in the diff, yep, okay, it changed the button to link to order here. And same here, and same here. Now it's running the linting. And it may also run the tests. Cool, so it's running our tests. While it's doing that, I'm switching over because I'm like, yeah, go ahead and run the test. Like now here, I'm gonna like visually look at it and see like, yep, that's exactly what it changed. I didn't miss anything, like especially if code is flying by pretty quickly. These are exactly the two things. So let's do our commit here. On I would normally take more time in crafting the commit messages, but since we're on stream and to keep things going quickly, I'll try not to go too much. So we'll commit that. And
can we ask Claude to double check whether there are any other destructive actions that are on the right instead of the left?
Sure. And it looks like it's still, I know it has had some issues with running the system tests. Usually it's like the first time through. So we're going to do two things. For this session, let's only run the non-system tests. And then you have to remember option to do multiple lines, which is the opposite of every other app I've ever seen that uses shift. I always have to tell myself that. All right. And then, so we're going to say, see, are there other cancel or delete? Cool. So we'll set it off for doing that. And then we'll start queuing up what the next thing is going to be while it's doing that. And I have found that this is also like when it's doing things, when you want to maximize your time, like let it do its thing, especially since it's not committing, you're keeping control over the changes, but you can also be like setting up for the next thing. So, you know, let it scan while you're multitasking and preparing your next thing. Could be writing out the prompt. It could be just like looking at the code base. So let's see. Okay, next one we're going to fix is a visual bug, and I will have that ready to go. Still no changes here, but we can also visually see.
What's the visual bug?
The visual bug that we'll be going into is that when you are on book intentions, so it hasn't chosen this. Note that when I choose it, this part pops up, but when the page first loads, this is empty. So when we go in, this is blank. So we'll fix this with book intention. Cool. So it has gone through. Let's just scan back. Already correct. I happen to know that these are all the key routes of the app, and these were the fix. So that's good. So let's call this. This was a fix. I hadn't decided if I wanted to do this all in one commit or just like maybe we'll just repeatedly branch off it. So let's create a new branch off of this, and we'll call this fix initial. Text display. And if we had multiple commits, I'd squash them first, but here we'll just hang out here. Sweet. So for the next bug on let's get the right, on the book intention. So I think we're on book intention show. And sometimes I'll actually just like tell it instead of doing this.
Actually.
Was that? Oh, sorry. Edit. Yeah. So on book intention edit, the text on the right doesn't appear for the currently selected item.
So one of the things while that runs that occurred to me while you're doing this, and I'm realizing that there's a point in your sort of journey as a developer that's using these tools where my initial instinct is, well, let me go in and see what the problem is. And then I can tell it to fix that problem. And getting to the point where you move beyond that and force yourself not to look at the code and try to determine what the problem is and be super prescriptive about how to fix it.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I've done versions of AI assisted coding. And one that I did a long time ago was with AI as a pairing partner, not Claude, but just like within like the ChatGPT interface. And so there was a lot more of I'm coding things and then I'm pasting code over and saying like, hey, I think we like this is the problem here. Like I've identified this, but how do we fix it? And like you're absolutely right, especially when you're under pressure. You know, there we had a 2-week deadline, and so you have to adopt those things, just like you said, to not like because often it knows what to do, and that's okay. Right. Like to let it do that. And I don't know if you saw, like this popped up without me doing anything. Again, like Hotwire Spark picked it up. Whatever its changes were, it looked like it changed our stimulus controller. So let's take a look at those changes now and see if we like them. And again, like this part is really important to me when doing this, to hold that code quality,
right?
Is to at least to have that level of I'm going to look at what it's doing and not just say like, oh, it works now, because it will find solutions that are not great, and you have to redirect it and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this, like, or we don't need a new stimulus controller. We have one that it's supposed to be using.
Right.
That's broken. So okay, cool. So let's see. So it took off the choice target, and it took off the adding of hidden, and it's showing the details for choice, and this all seems fine. And here it just did like a rename. So now
I actually don't follow. Why did it remove choice? Why is it no longer? Actually, I don't even see that it was using a choice target.
I don't think it was. I think that was like
okay. That explains.
Yeah. So we can also take a look at like, let's just ask it really quickly. Like, let's ask it. So can you look at the view that was using and see, was the choice target not defined before? Was it? Another thing that I found is really helpful is certainly when you have something working, like pause and commit.
Right.
Because if it goes off, sometimes it will revert back and sometimes it can't. And there's many a times when I've been like, yeah, I've just stashed all your work. We're starting over because it
Mhm.
like went too, it went too far aside. So um, let's commit this. We can always amend the commit, frequently do that. Like as we
Mhm.
get to better and better versions, I'll just keep amending the commit, or you might add new ones. All right. So now with that, let's just see what it says. And while it's looking at it, we can look at that as well. So, and let's also pull up the controller itself. Cool. So it is the book intention details. Here's the controller. Like it wasn't passing it a target.
Oh, right. Well, there might be a target elsewhere. Um, the choice target was dead code declared in the JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's can you see the details target? I think it's probably down below further. Yeah, details target right there
Yep,
is
there you go. Yep.
details.
Cool. And now we'll give it a quick run of the tests. I'll let it go through the system ones. And then we'll do a quick lint check. But seemingly good. All right. So now let's just take a look. Let's just try it out ourselves, which is also important. Cool. So we go into book goal. Sorry, we go into book intention and we change the intention and it's
Yeah, it's loaded now.
Yeah. All right. So that's a good commit. No
Mhm.
further changes.
Did the other ones have the same problem?
Oh, and sorry, I put this on the wrong branch. Let me try to pick that over. Did the other ones have the same problem? Let's see. So book goal doesn't have a sidebar. Book
Mhm.
structure, very well, it does not.
Okay.
So this one was already working. So let me cherry pick this over. We want that
You said
commit.
this is tower, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I don't use a program like this. So this is the first time Tower's been on the stream.
I love it
Mhm.
so much. It makes quick side plug. Like it makes it really easy to go through and see like the files that were changed and what was in it. I find it much more readable than like on the command line. It makes things like swapping the order of commits really easy. Like if we had like we just like basically drag and drop to change the order of commits.
Mhm.
You could grab three. Sorry if we're on our branch. You could grab three of them and squash them. You could delete them. It makes so many common everyday activities just so much more, again, efficient.
Mhm.
All right, so this was this one. We swapped the order of the delete buttons, and now here we have our fixed initial test display. So this is good. We've got that fixed. Let's fix another bug. I'm going to rename this branch, and we're going to do two things on this. Fix book intention issues. One of the things, and then we're going to go to a meteor one right after this, where we're going to actually do some like re-architect models, and that will be fun. So if we come in here with a book intention, one of the things I noticed was that the current one is highlighted in green and it says current, but when you go off, I don't know, actually, how do you feel about this? Do you feel like this should be the one that's highlighted in green, like when you have it selected, or do you think like that's enough?
No, my expectation would be the green would move, but the current would stay.
The word current.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's fix that. And I think this is both on book intention edit and book structure. I think has the same issue. So let's tell it about those.
By the way, not to be a complete distraction, but we are going to get to the point where I can envision a world where a local model is listening to our conversation.
Yeah.
And we just talked about what the problem was.
Yeah.
And then we could just say, okay, fix it.
Absolutely.
Even if that needs to go then and use Claude Code, which uses external models, it could have just generated a prompt by listening to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like as we were showing with the text to speech, like it's really good. Like I was
And the
going,
local models are just as good. Like Whisper runs locally, other things run locally. That's gotten to the point where you don't even need to go to an external service on a MacBook anyway.
I think I sense my next my next Friday work. Get that going because that would be super helpful. On book structure edit and book intention edit, when you select a new option, the green outline,
The green background,
yeah,
and outline.
And now this is the part where, as a developer, I think you can get yourself into more trouble, which is because like this is probably a styling thing, and it's going to make styling changes. And I know, like for the most part, Kevin and I were working on separate paths for the first part of this because Kevin was working on this, like this experience, the landing page, and all this particular work. So I was working on getting functionality going with like really like lightweight styling. And then while Kevin was working on this, and then we came back together and unified things. But like right now, we're going to make a change. It might be like this looks like it's just a controller change.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like when it changes, like the Tailwind styles, like for the most part, as a developer, I just have to be like, okay, it works, it looks right. But I think you can generate possibly a lot of dead CSS code.
Yeah.
Or like just purely unnecessary. So I think it's really helpful then to have someone come back and look at those changes. But let's see what we've got. So let's take a look at the changes. So we have two files here. So cool. So on show details, we're updating the styles. We're looking for a particular label. We're removing the border and the background, and we're adding the gray background back, and then kind of doing, so it's stripping it from everything, and then for the selected one, removing gray and adding the green. And I would imagine we'd see the same thing over here. It's kind of nice.
Essentially the same file, Lewis. It's just
oh no, one is book intention. This is book
oh,
structure.
You're right. Yeah.
And it looked like it made the same change. It also removed the comment here because I've told it like that's one of the frustrations I've had is so much of the code it generates what I think feel like meaningless comments, especially when it's like this one wasn't too bad, but I've told it not to do that because I feel like we should have self-describing like methods and names, and they should like self-documenting.
Right.
And it adds so many comments to the point that I added to be like, try not to add comments, which I think why I deleted it here. Cool. So let's see what it says. Dynamically, it's updated both controllers to dynamically update the styling. We added a new method. So, and again, it talks through, removes the green, resets them to gray, applies the green, and that seems good. We'll just do I have this? I forgot what my little, cool. So we'll not run the system tests just for that because the system tests are a part that we haven't like gotten too deeply into. So again, for the sake of time saving, let's take a look at it. So we change our structure. That seems to be working nicely. Our current is staying, so that's good. And let's check book intention. And that looks like it's working as well. Also, just want to double check if we have one, not the first one, that this thing still works. And that still works too. Cool. All right. Sweet. So let's add this one. On book intention and structure. Follow the user's choice with border and background. And we'll stage both of those. We've looked at them already, so we'll commit it. And I think that was it for styling. Let me just look over. I had a list of notes of things we wanted to tackle. So text not displayed on the right until you click. Have the highlight follow what's being clicked. There's a couple more styling things I want to do, but let's go to something meatier, and then we can like come back to them.
Sure. Yeah.
If we want to. So we're going to start a new branch. Again, I will create a new branch from this, and we're going to call this. Let's see. So we're going to take. So right now, when we created this, the intention was like the user has like an intention for their book, and they have a structure for their book, etc. And late in the game, I was like, wait, why did I do that? Like there should be a book model, and everything should hang off the book model, its intention, its structure. Because even though Teledraft is like write your first book, maybe you have different books in mind.
Right.
So we're gonna re-architect that.
And what are those models named now? Is the model name book intention or just intention?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's book intention, book goal, book structure. So I like to say update.
That's actually a good hint that you probably needed a book model.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really embarrassed about it. I was like, I can't believe I didn't think of that from the beginning. And at the end, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? So let's call this, I don't know, update book model hierarchy.
Now, right now, there's not a book model at all, right?
There is a book model,
okay.
But all it has, and this is going to show if we have time. So it has the book title. Cool. That belongs off of it. It's got this single thing called content, which is when we generate the final step of Teledraft, where we generate the user's book. That's all hanging off of content. And so another change that we want to make is like a book should have chapters, and the chapters should have content. Just to, we also do version, like we use Papertrail for version control for both the user's outline and their content. And so also by like having a single content thing, like all that history is being saved every time versus being like, let's just work. And like as a human, you would work on one chapter at a time. You're not probably going to work across the whole book in one go. So we're going to split this up in a later step to break this out and create a new like chapter model. But for now, let's go ahead and see if we can get this done. So, okay. Next one is a big one. And let's do it model by model. I want to move the intention, goal, and structure models to belong to the book model. And this is interesting because I have found like in terms of like finding that balance for prescriptiveness, like I don't actually have to tell it and update the tests and update the views. Like it's actually really good at interpreting that it needs to do that.
Well, probably some hints in your ClaudeMD file too. Like if you had nothing about tests in there,
that's true.
Who knows? You know, it might be more likely to not. That's what I've found in general.
That makes sense. All right, let's kick this off, see what happens. So just to confirm, we have our new structure. One thing I do want to do is I'm going to squash these two commits. And we're going to edit the commit message. And we're going to call it squash. And this will help me later when I'm like figuring out what's the order of things. Oh, I'm sorry. This should have all been squashed. So that way, when we're like rebasing, as we like merge each of these PRs separately, it'll make that much easier to not have to like do each individual commit, especially if you have like 10 commits along the way. Really helpful. All right, let's go see what it does. So the things I'm expecting to see, I'm expecting it's going to create a migration. I'm expecting the models are going to have relationship changes. I'm expecting the factories possibly need to change.
Are you Okay, actually, this might give you. I was going to say, since you told it to go model by model, I was wondering whether it was just going to. Yeah, which model would you like to start with? Yeah. So.
Yep. And so this is a good point also to like verify, like, are its assumptions correct? And this is correct. So that is the current structure. This is also where we want to get to. Cool. So create a migration, update the associations, find all the code that references, update the controllers, views, and helpers, update the factories, running tests. Let's start with the easiest one, which is, I think, the least stuff hanging off. I think the goal is correct. So. And then it has a question. Currently, users create these before they have a book. Do you want to change the flow so a book is created first, or should we handle the case where these exist before a book is created? So here I'm actually going to pause before I tell it. So actually, this is funny. I was actually going to look through the code. I'm going to do the thing that you said and not like look for it and ask it, because I remember we talked about this. So in the past, I don't know, I recall we had a hook to create a book if one was missing. This was around setting the book's title in the UI. Check that code and see if we can use it or if it needs to change. So while it's thinking about it, I'm going to go and look for it too. Let's see. Do we have?
Well, it wouldn't be a factory creation. It would.
Well, yeah, probably not. So it is still looking. It's going to be on the dashboard controller, maybe. So here we go. So here we do create book. If the user book blank. I might want to refactor that anyway to be unless current user book. But let's see what we got.
I'm curious for this migration, whether it's going to migrate the data too.
Yeah, that's interesting. A very interesting question. So cool. So it did find the same line. And since we always visit the dashboard before we do anything,
but it does say we can do it in the book goals control.
Yeah, I feel like so. Like here, I'm gonna let it keep going. Often I'll interrupt it if I've caught it in time, because I don't want to interrupt its. I don't want to interrupt its thought flow. But we'll let it keep going. And now, like, this is going to be one where we do a lot of looking at. So let's just start taking a look at it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, not happy. Not happy with this. Actually, with that in mind, I'm gonna interrupt.
Well, let's talk about for the viewers what. So first instinct, you shouldn't use the model within migration. Because that model might not exist, and then the migration wouldn't be able to run in the future.
Right, like a future developer, like when you're like 20 commits down the line. This was when I had to learn through a lot. Like, it broke my brain at first. I'm like, what do you mean the model won't be there? And like, well, if you do change the model, then this migration, when run, 6 months from now, especially like we actually aren't going to have this model anymore.
Right, exactly.
Like literally, as part of this work, this migration is going to break after the work is done. So, yep. So that's a problem. I'm also not a fan that it is migrating things first. Like, I kind of want to keep the data separate. In the past, I've used the data migrate gem. I don't think I brought it in for this one. I do like it because it separates, like, sort of visually and conceptually, your schema updates and your like data migrations. But All right, this is going to be interesting. So now we need to talk about what we want to do. So, all right.
Now, do you want to stash those changes, or how would you handle that?
I mean, I think some of them. So one, I don't like it. It sort of depends on how much of it I like, and if I have a working thing that I
Mhm.
don't like parts of, or if I don't have a working thing yet. So I'm not going to stash it, but I'm also not going to hit enter until I document sort of like the things I don't like. A couple of issues with our approach. So let's slow it down even more and work on one aspect at a time. Um, in this case, let's get the migration working as we want it. Okay, and now we're going to say some issues I saw. We shouldn't use the model name in the migration because it will eventually not exist. We should separate the data migration from the model migration. We can keep the existing models for now and create new ones named goal
Oh, that's interesting.
structure. Then we can tackle a migration from the book prefixed ones. What did you find interesting? Like this approach for it?
Yeah, of actually creating another model with the different name. Um, I can see how then that actually aids in separating out the data migration from the model migration too. So
Yeah, and then in like a later commit, then we can like have one to
yeah.
delete the old models once we're happy with it. So actually, we'll even specify that. Let's not delete the old models until we know that production has been migrated successfully. We've told it, so I've told it that I don't want it called book goal with our new model names. This is fine. Belongs to user in the validation. That all seems fine. I guess we'll also need to point out need to keep the existing we'll need to keep the existing model relationships until later, but let's say mark them with a to-do to delete them in the future. I don't think I have to do or die in the gem file. I would really like nope, don't have it. If I were doing this like not on stream, I would actually pause here, add the to do or die gem, and have it use that so that these to-dos have like a date on them. But for now, this is fine. Let's see where it goes. I think I've caught everything. Do you see anything else that we might want to tell it before I have it go?
The only thing that I've struggled with in the past, I don't know if you, but like it clearly like it has a ordered list of things it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Updating all the tests for the book goal happens last. And I know that if I was coding this, I would actually modify the tests first.
Sure.
But I'm not sure it actually matters in terms of the way this logic actually plays out. So
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I also very much like the TDD approach, and I'm trying to figure out in my like, and I have had it when I've worked with Claude on like a smaller feature, like especially if I'm tracking down a bug. Like I'll tell it, please write a failing test first, then let's demonstrate that it fails, then fix it, then demonstrate that now our fix has our passing test. So I'm like essentially telling it, here's how you TDD. And maybe I could just tell it like, I want to take a TDD approach for this. I don't know. I'm kind of
But I
curious.
haven't seen that it actually matters in terms of whether it's successful or not.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's, I guess, what I'm saying. It's
Okay.
like the stickler in me wants to do it first,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not sure since it's basically just randomly, probabilistically generating the change.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing.
Yeah. We'll just give it a try then.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. All right. So now the big reveal. Actually, wait, I'm gonna pause it one more time. And now I am gonna I'm gonna stash it just because I just want to keep the reference to it, just in case we want to look back at it. So we'll grab all these and we'll stash 4 items and we'll call this book book model hierarchy first pass. Sweet.
Cool. And as you resume that, I'll just point out that thanks for watching. For those who are watching on the stream, we are monitoring comments and questions. If you see something along the way or you've got any questions for Lewis or I about anything you see or about anything in general, feel free to drop it in the chat and we will see that and answer it.
Cool. It looks like this feels better. So we have a new class. Now we have a new model, we're adding some code to it. Let's see what we've got over here. Cool. So this feels more like how I would approach it. So we're creating
Now,
a
does
goal.
that match the existing book goals table? It only has choice, right? I think that's what I remember seeing.
User reference, choice, and yep, that's it.
Okay.
So we're getting those two and timestamps. So that looks like it's going to be fine. It's added a new goal and it's added it alphabetically, which is one of the things I told it to do. So that's good. A goal, if you create one, it has to create a book and it has to choose a choice, and that seems fine. This is cool. So again, one of the things is like it tends to like to write should tests, and I think Rubocop yells at it for that. So I think I've told it like choose an active voice, so like requires choice instead of should have a
now,
choice.
I assume this is pretty much just copying the existing tests.
Probably. We can take a look at it. Sorry. So which one we're doing? Book goal test. So yep, looks like it. Hasina methods. If we run this locally, 7 tests with 18 assertions. We can't test the other one. Let's keep that in mind when we come back and look at it. We can also just take a look at like how long is the file. It looks like it's a bit longer. Oh, that's book test. Sorry, we have book goal test, and now we want goal test. 57 lines. 57 lines. It is probably
Yeah.
It looks like just swapping between the two. Yep. Looks like it's hewing to that. So that's good. Cool. So it is done. Let's see what it's done. Creates a goal table, unique index, foreign key constraint. We have a new goal model, exact copy of the enum validations and helpers, all the same choices. We have our factory. Even there, it says it added it in alphabetical order. Good job, Claude. Proud of you. References book instead of user. Use a default choice. And then 80 movement, matching book goal test. All 7 tests passing. And the old model remains untouched. Cool. So before we go on, this is definitely going to be a commit spot.
So, yeah, definitely. It's interesting because none of the code that uses this model was changed.
Right.
And the data also, we should note that the data wasn't migrated either.
Right. Just like setting up the work for how it's going. And this feels better to me. Actually, I probably should have told it from the beginning to do it like this. It's just much more easier to keep track of all the changes in your head and to like verify that you like them, right? Like, because if this was 20 files with the views and the controllers and all that, it's much harder to do things like the things you were just calling out, like is it creating the model in the same way? And we can look at it. Are the tests the same tests? We can look at that. When you have a list of 20 things to double check like that all at once, really easy to get overwhelmed and just be like, it looks good. And you don't want that. You want to keep that visual check of what it did. So we're happy. So I'm going to start staging things here, and we'll give it a commit message. So create the goal model and relationships. So we like our migration. We're going to look at the schema migration. We have our new day. We have the goals with what we would expect. And I will just take a look at also at the created schema. So like here, I'm just going to grab this and paste it down here with goals so I can see it together. We have user ID instead of book ID. We have an integer choice, our timestamps, and the goals. That all seems fine. So back over here with that stage, cool. That all looks as expected. Again, we set our factory. Sorry, it is, there we go. When we created a book goal, we had the same thing, and now we're just doing a choice, so that's good.
Actually, does the database, this is a tangent, but does the database have a default of motivational?
That's a good question. No. I don't know. No default.
But it's null false.
I think it's just like forcing you to make a change.
Yeah, that's okay. If in an actual app, I would probably encourage the developer to set a default on the database if that's truly the default.
Gotcha. I think in this case, like there isn't a default, and I think for this one, I would want the app to crash, to be like, wait, you can't create this model. Like I wouldn't want to be creating, because this is a choice the user's making. I wouldn't want the code to somehow default them to the wrong book type.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'd rather it crash and be like, wait, we didn't set it right when they chose it.
That's a good point for this. Yeah.
So now looking over the styles, again, we verified this was a copy of the other one, but if this had been a new test, I can see like, cool, it's using assert predicate over like assert, and saying that it's valid or not. That gives better, it gives better test failure information. But again, like as a style thing, I see it's doing it. I'm looking at that, right? We're checking the one goal per book, which is correct. We have our enums. Again, this was a copy, so I'm not going to dig too deep into it. And finally, we have a new model. Let's also just side by side that really fast. So let's close all these things. So we want to look at our goal model, and we want to look at our book goal model. And if we just toggle back and forth, that seems all correct. And nothing else is changing. Display name
and split display name are just swapping. That's all.
Yeah, and this is good because it's actually alpha sorted. So sweet. So we're all good there. So we're going to commit this as a personal thing. Like you mentioned, we didn't change any of the using code. So this should all pass. One thing though that it does do, we do have factory bot linting. So for example, like if we had taken out I would expect the linting to fail, to be like, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's not doing so nice. So we have some test coverage of what were the change we made, which is of our factory. All right, let's go back to here. So we created the model and integration. Okay, I don't want to go to intention and structure.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's not how I would approach it. I would instead finish out the changes for the goal model.
Yep. So let's actually tell that. Let's hold on and structure for now. We'll do those in a follow-up PR. Let's go to the next step of the goal migration. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, while it's doing that, we're going to rename this. Now we have our own personal direction. So we're going to call this add goal model. Or maybe replace book goal with goal, because we are going to carry through all the parts of that. All right, so what do we got? It's generated a migration. Well, I'll have to read about that. Cool. It is using SQL now, so it remembered that change. And let's see if we've got any other things going on here. Nothing yet. So it is also migrating the created at timestamps.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I would have been inclined to do this in one statement using insert into with a select,
Yeah.
but that's
We
mostly
could
just
tell
a
it.
matter of preference.
I mean, I think that's a good call though. Like in terms of like you're gonna have to look at this later, or someone's gonna have to look at it. What do you do? You want an easier to understand? And I would say it's worth it. It's worth telling it um, to make that change. Let's see what's it's doing. It is struggling with something. It did a rollback. It is calling things. Okay, so let's see what it says it did. Use raw SQL for each book goal, finds the book or create ones if it doesn't exist. So like not exactly necessary, creates a goal record with the same choice.
Well, actually, it is a good point. Because of the way the current way the app works, a user might not have a book.
So do we want to?
That's right? Because book was only created
Yeah,
when they visited the dashboard.
that is true. So it would be really hard for it to happen because like when you log in, you're taken to the dashboard. You can't get to do anything.
Right.
I'm a little bit on the fence on that one, like whether it's necessary, but I'm also not sure.
So I mean, this is a balance, right? It is a
Yeah.
prototype.
Yep.
It's not really in production,
Right.
that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
also, if that is an actual problem, then you can't do it in one SQL statement, like I was saying. And the way this is written makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. What's your call on this? We have
I
a
mean,
lot of
I would run it, and if it works,
Sure.
then I would probably let it go.
Cool. All right. So it ran it. It said it worked. I would ask it. I don't remember if we have this set up correctly. I've written a blog post about this, about testing your data migrations.
Mhm.
This might be too much to do with the time we have. Again, like if we weren't like with 22 minutes to go, I would be like, let's implement that.
Hey, Louis, this is how it works. I mean, we're rapid prototyping here, buddy. We gotta.
Let's see what it does. Let's see if it'll work. And if not, we'll pause on that and we'll do like a manual check of it.
Can you write a test for the data migration? So for those people just tuning in, what we are doing is we have a prototype that was pretty rapidly created. Now we're happen to be doing a big refactoring of the way the models are related and organized. So it looks like it is doing it, or trying to anyway.
Yeah. Also, I stand corrected. The thing I was remembering was testing your seeds file, not testing your migration.
Mhm.
I should write a blog post about that. It's super helpful. Let's see what it's doing though.
And it's probably using your blog post, Lewis, to be able to know how to do this.
I that's actually a good point. I have found, so while we're waiting for it to, I'm not really I'm not really happy with what it looks
Yeah.
like it's creating over there. We'll just let it go though. Again, this is the one of the reasons that I'm like, let it make edits so that I'm not constantly interrupted, so it can go as quickly as it can. Keep an eye on it to be like, this might be going awry, but also don't give it the commit. Don't let it make commits and update commits. Like, you keep
Mhm.
control over that. Um, that is actually one of the, like, sort of, I don't want to call it a failsafe exactly, but it's like a point. It's like a quality control check, and that's you, the developer. If you just allow it to make commits, I think you're relinquishing that quality control, and pretty quickly, that's how you get to a code base that you're like, don't even recognize.
Mhm.
Whereas if you take the responsibility of like, I am committing this to the code base, even though it was partly or completely written by Claude, like, don't do that. Don't relinquish that. That, like, you're the quality control. That's really important.
So it says that it wrote a test and it ran the test and it's passing.
So cool. So it's creating, right? It's creating a new instance of the class, or at least it's naming it after that.
Mhm.
And so we're creating a new instance. We have a connection. It's deleting from goals there, and then it's doing a migration. So let's see. We're creating a user. We're creating a book, and we're adding a goal. And then I probably would make this like an assert changes
Mhm.
instead of an assert equal of +1. Um, and then we're asserting that it's not goal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then creates book and migrates the goal when one does not exist. Again, we have a similar thing. Um, I like all this. And then multiple goals with different users, and preserves timestamps. And the down migration removes all goals, which is correct. And it handles the empty book goals table. That seems fine. I'm
Mhm.
just going to run it. So this is the migrate test. I'm just going to run it myself here locally. It does pass. I'm going to commit and then just have it make a couple tweaks. So this like ties into the quality control part. So let's commit, because we do have a working thing and we like it. Migrate goal to goal.
So while you type that, I'll just point out this speaks to what you said before, which was like you could just in your editor make the small changes that you want to make quickly,
Yep.
but you're having Claude Code do it in the hopes that it learns a little bit during this session.
Exactly. And this would be then maybe even something that I would say, like, we're finding something, let's add this to Claude. So let's see what we've got here. I'm just going to skim these myself. Cool. So before controllers, so here's a good similar sort of spot. Prefer assert changes and assert no changes when testing things like counts, like record counts, or I don't know, property changes. Right. And this is another good part of, like, so you don't have to repeat yourself over and over again. Let's just add that commit. D, and then because I'm going to probably want to amend, Like here's another example where I just want to move this over. It's a little dangerous to do it while it's actively writing. Cool. But now we're at a pause. So now I'll move this back. I'm going to move the revision. It's going to stash and re-add. So sweet. Now we've moved that back. So we can now amend this commit with these changes. What is it wanting to do? Oh, it's updating the, it wants to, I'm not sure why it wants to do that, but let's check our file again. Unknown keyword by, okay. Honestly, I'm just going to tell it that. And we'll see what it does. This is good though. Like I think this highlights. Like I don't think we're going to get through the whole migration here, but I think we've seen like a lot of really good things, like break it down into smaller pieces so that you as the developer keep context over what changes are being made. Find opportunities to mirror changes. So that once you have something done, it's going to be an easier change. And then you also, easier for Claude and easier for you to review it. It'll have something to mirror. So it used assert difference, and that, which I think is fine. It's at least better than looking like it's clear that this action is changing the goal count versus like doing math. And it got rid of the temporary variables. And then here it's doing the nested, the book count, and the goal count. Yeah. So I like this. Let's keep it. So again, now we're just going to amend that commit. And now we have our better test. So now we have a testable. Now we have a testable migration.
Now I know you said you thought we were going to, but we really only have one more step, which is updating the application code to use goal instead of book goal.
Well, maybe so. This would be exciting. I'd love to be able to finish it. We'll give it some encouragement and see what we get. While it's doing that, honestly, I'm just going to take a moment and rerun the integration tests. Sweet. And the linting. Just like to stay on top of these things so that at the end there's not like a whole bunch of stuff to do. And I like to keep, if possible, the linting changes in with the original commit. Sweet. So a book now has a new goal, dependent destroy, and let's just think about that. If the user deletes their book, deleting a book is like a really big thing. I actually might want it to like cascade fail, so that it's like, nope, you can't delete the book because you've already like done work with it. I feel like I like an opportunity to protect the user, but also to protect us. Like if, let's say you had, I don't know, let's say you're working in the Rails console and you happen to do like book destroy, right? For a user, like this makes you have to be intentional. Like you have to be like, nope, I'm deleting this user's goal. I'm deleting their intention. I'm deleting the structure, or at least like have a script that does that. So I might make this harder. Also, I don't know how often we're going to want to actually delete books. But so far, that is the only change it has made.
This actually speaks to a little, like, if this makes me a little uncomfortable because I would expect a change like this to also change tests, and we're going to end up with a commit. But let's keep on going forward.
We can do both, and then what would you say while it's doing this? Where do you want to go for the next step? Do you want to go to
well, is this the only place that it would have? I guess I'm expecting a bunch of views and forms.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, it's kind of missed the next steps. Is it? Oh, session limit reached. Oh no. we have 9 minutes left. That is most unfortunate. I could ask you on camera. Can I upgrade to the $200 a month version?
I'm surprised you're not already on it.
Just trying to be economical, cost conscious here. All right, let's take this opportunity though. Let's talk about what we would do next. So like the next things we would likely do is the uh, the goal controller. So let's whoops, did not mean to do that. Right, so this here is creating book goals.
So really that would become current user
Build goal.
dot book.
Yeah. Current user build book.
Oh, shouldn't they already have a book?
No, this is building the oh no, sorry, build goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if we
So I assume right now, even though a user can have many books, we're just going to assume that there's only one book.
I think so, because like we certainly don't have an interface to allow them to have more than one.
Mhm.
Although one of the things they found was like in terms of like testing the prototype, like if you're here in the app and you want to, you'll note that as you do more things, like this list is decreasing. Like you
Mhm.
have to do all these steps to get to the outline. So we can actually just take a moment now and go through the rest of the app just for the last few minutes. So we'll just give it a title. So like, see now, cool. Now we can generate the outline because we've completed all the required steps. That means though that when you're testing it as a developer, you're like, wait, I have to delete everything or create a new user,
Mhm.
try and test like, wait, I want to see what it's like when there's no book goals. So it would be super helpful, at least in development, to have like a create new book here or a book switcher or something like that. But right, in terms of production, I think we'll just assume that there is still like one book. So
Yeah. So as you sort of need to make a call there whether these controllers, like the goal controller,
yep.
gets nested under a book,
Yeah,
or
like
whether we're just assuming that the user has a book.
yeah. Let's actually, I'm going to start writing like what are our next steps. So like nesting the resources.
That's what I would do, because looking at the controller, if you don't nest the controller under the book, then you're going to end up needing to like every controller is going to need to say like current user dot books dot first or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be a little bit better if
Yep.
you could just be explicit about which book you're using.
Yep. Makes sense to me. So we're going to nest the controller resources under the book. We are going to maybe add development only question mark. Way to add choose a book. We're going to want to make code changes for goal instead of book goal. Cool. So in the few moments we have left, like I said, let's go through here. This is the outline that it generates, and we can see we have different versions here, so you can like go through and start changing your outline, and it will save a new version, which I think is really nice. This took a little bit of doing to get. This is actually, I'm glad we have a chance to talk about this. Getting Claude to do this correctly was intense because the numbering has to be, it's like in reverse order, but then having it choose the right one is another thing, and it has to do like not zero based. So getting the math and the testing to be both readable and functional was like a real struggle. And so this is an example of sometimes like maybe you feel like you're spending more time than it's worth, but ultimately I think it's really worth it, because once once we had this working correctly to where like when you have like you're looking at an older version, it's showing this to you. We can now do the same thing for the chapters in the same way we're doing for the outline.
Mm-hmm.
And like it knows now, it knows how to do that. It knows how to do like this versioning pattern. You know, what are the class methods it needs? How's it going to number it? Always be one based. You know, show in yellow. So like we see these past versions. I'm going to go ahead and save this. But yeah, that was fun. And now let's do our last step, where we're going to generate a book draft. This is actually not going to do a great job because we haven't answered the discovery question.
Right, we didn't answer the questions.
But functionally, this is going to take this information, this information, this information, all my answers, send it to ChatGPT, and then like stitch it together. In terms of the AI part, I think, you know, it can be helpful without going into super much detail. Like just to talk about like that part of how this works. So like we create a base LLM agent here using LangChain RB, and we have some basic methods. Ask it a question and give it some extra guidance that doesn't get part of it, that can be like extracted. And then which model are we using? Like a quick model for something like, hey, just modify this. Like when we're saying, ask this question, ask the next question of the user when we're doing that voice interview part, but modify it. We're like, we don't want that to take forever.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to be good, but the user has to feel like they're in a flow. And so the fastest model we can use for that part is really helpful. But then when we're generating the draft, like the user isn't expecting 2 seconds. They're expecting quality. So I like heavily lean into that when dealing with an LLM model as an idea, like choose the right level of model for the task at hand. And so, and then also like, then like we have like an interview agent, and the interview agent is like, has a method that has like specific prompting saying like, here's the next question, but like adapt it to flow naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we have a writing agent where we're talking about like how to do this, like maintain the author's natural voice and all that. So we are close to time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, if this kind of thing is interesting to you, we have a big event coming up at Thoughtbot Open Summit, Friday, October 31st. You can go to thoughtbot.com/events/open-summit, or just go to thoughtbot.com, and in the lower right-hand corner, there's a badge for Open Summit. It's an all-day across many different time zones online conference. I'm going to be running a workshop with Justin Bowen, the author, the maintainer and creator of Active Agent, which is sort of a Ruby Gem DSL built for use with Rails, that sort of like uses Rails conventions to build agents, just like Lewis has on his screen right now. So we're going to be going through a workshop of using that gem to do this kind of thing. And then we have a lot of other sessions around Thoughtbot open source projects, or basically online sessions, live streaming all day over many time zones, active coding sessions for you to code along with us. And we're going to have major releases of open source projects that Thoughtbot works on, including the 1.0 release of Administrate, which has been in development for almost a decade now and not hit 1.0. So that's a big deal for us. As well as we have the creators and maintainers of Hanami joining us for the day to run and work on Hanami. So definitely check out that event. We hope you join us, whether you can just join us for one session or all day. We will be there to greet you. So thank you so much. As always, you can work with Thoughtbot to improve your app or bring your new idea to life, just like we've shown today. We can do it very quickly.
Chad, actually, if I could jump in there on that one, I think this is like so important. I think a lot of people think like prototyping with AI is just like throwaway code. Like we built production code here, like over the course of 2 weeks. Like we're saying, like it is tested. It is, it is well covered by those tests. Like when we take the next steps after getting like some user feedback about where we want Teledraft to go, like this isn't throwaway code. This is real code. This is like this is the foundation for like taking it to the next level. And by taking that ownership of working with Claude and on like owning the commits,
Right.
You can keep that quality up.
Yeah, I mean, what we're definitely doing here is not vibe coding, and we're not just generating a bunch of stuff that needs to be thrown away. And yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's super important. Um, so thank you again, Louis, for joining me. I appreciate it. We will be back next week, and thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. Tune in next time for even more AI in focus.